everyone, my name is Chrissy and welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing a book review of My Brother's Husband by Gengoroh Tagame. This is the first manga I've ever reviewed, and I would normally have my trusty handy-dandy sidekick, Frederick, the whiteboard, to help me, but I don't want to do stick art next to this fabulous art. Frederick's taking a vacation. To get into a summary, Yaichi is a single father raising Kana, and a big hulking Canadian of a man named Mike Flanagan shows up on his doorstep. Mike is the widower of Ryoji, who is the twin brother of Yaichi. Ryoji had recently passed, and Mike went to Japan in order to try and further connections to his husband that he lost. He's trying to look for the family that Ryoji has in Japan, and he's also just trying to see all the places that Ryoji had grown up and that he had lived in. To get into the review, I loved it. I finished this in one sitting, and that's not hard to do with manga, but it was very gripping. I just did not want to leave my seat or put it down for any reason. As far as actions and plot in this book, it's a severely quiet type of manga. All it really showcases is the bonds that are forming between Mike, Yaichi, and Kana, and how they're coming together as a family. And it's really nice to see. It also looks at Yaichi's prejudices that he had against people who are gay and people who are in LGBTQ community, and how he didn't really understand that aspect of someone's life, that he had a lot of questions, and it showcases how kind of he got to that point and how it affected his relationship with his brother, and also kind of him realizing that how he acts is affecting the people who are close to him. To give a little bit of an example of this, in a scene that I thought was just fabulously done because it was hilarious and it really kind of hit on those notes of how prejudice can be stemmed from fear, how prejudice can just be this place where you don't have the knowledge that you need in order to make an informed opinion about someone. Mike is talking with Kana, and Kana is delighted that she has a new uncle, an uncle that she did not know existed at all. And she's asking Mike a lot of questions. One of the questions that she asked as a very curious child is, who was the wife and who was the husband in the marriage of Ryoji and Mike? Now, Yaichi scolds Kana in this questioning and pretty much saying, hey, that's a rude question to ask. But Mike, knowing that kids are just curious, answers for her. And he says, neither of us were wives to each other. We were simply husbands. Like, both of us are men, and we were in a relationship together, and we are just husbands to one another. And this kind of answers a lot of questions that Yaichi has in his mind, because he ends up thinking later on, I had the same question of who was the wife and who was the husband. So a lot of Kana's questioning of Mike, Yaichi actually thinks the same thing, and he asks kind of the same questions mentally, but he's too afraid to speak out loud because he considers it rude. And how Kana gets her answers from Mike leaves Yaichi with more pieces to kind of the puzzle in his mind. One of the other things that I loved about this book was that it talked about prejudice not just in terms of sexuality, but about just people who look different than you, and who have different customs and different cultures from you. Now, realize that Gengoroh Tagame is talking a lot about how Japanese culture has these kind of prejudices towards other people. I'm viewing this very much from an American lens, so that's lending me some information that I didn't know of before. I knew some of it, just not a lot, and not expanded upon. For example, one of the things that I did know was that tattoos aren't really looked upon well in Japan. It has ties to the Yakuza. What I didn't know is that that could very much lead people to get banned from entering certain buildings. There's a scene in this book where two foreigners, probably American or Canadian somewhere, I don't know. I shouldn't even say probably American or Canadian. Like, probably American is a very self-centered notion. But anyway, two people who are not Japanese at all, one of them has a tattoo, and they're trying to get into this gym. Now, Mike and Yaichi are witnessing this happen. Mike goes over because he's fluent in Japanese, and he helps with some translation issues that are happening. And it ends up being that these two gentlemen cannot enter a gym because one of them has a tattoo. That tattoos are just not allowed in this place. I didn't really know that. I didn't really know that that happened at all. So it's a very interesting and eye-opening experience into that. The art in this book is just gorgeous. I loved the simple backdrops and the somewhat simplistic style that Gengoroh Tagame uses, mainly because I feel that some manga can get a little bit too heavy into detail where it's not needed, but it's just really clean. Also, this is one of the first mangas that I've ever had where people had realistic proportions. They're not just skinny dudes all around. They're actually people who are broad of shoulders. They're people who have muscle to them, with definitions in their body line. Like, Mike is just a big man, and that's amazing. That's amazing to see in a manga. And he's drawn big and not comically so. I think that's what really swelled my heart to this manga, because if you read a lot of manga, sometimes like the bigger characters are drawn in a little bit of a comedic style to kind of denote that they're not very looked well upon, and that can get a little bit grating. So it's nice to see people with proportions that are more realistic to everyday, and that's not in a mocking manner. Overall, I'm just going to say that this is a really good book. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of heart-swelling moments, especially when Uncle Mike is just being the greatest uncle to Kana, and Yaichi coming to realizations of how he treated Ryoji when they were younger. And granted, it's not that Yaichi was particularly unkind or cruel. He wasn't. It was just he was distant, and Yaichi realizing how that might have affected his brother. If you have any thoughts on this book, please say so down in the comments. If you have any suggestions based on this book for what I should read next, that would be amazing if you know of more books like this. And as always, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you like seeing this face talk about books, hit that subscribe button. And as always and forever, may you get lost in a book.